Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down the big ideas that are shaping our world. So today we're diving into the major trends that are set to define education by 2025. And we're doing this based on a really important new report from the OECD.
I think this quote from the report is just brilliant. It really hits home, doesn't it? The future is never just a simple continuation of what's happening right now. It's messy, it's unpredictable, and it's absolutely packed with surprises. So, okay, let's use this as our jumping-off point to try and make sense of all that complexity.
All right, Section 1, our polarized world. It's a world of progress and peril. And this really gets to the first huge theme of the report, this idea of paradox. Think about it. On one hand, we're seeing this incredible, mind-blowing progress in tech and society, but at the exact same time, we're grappling with these enormous global crises. It's this tension, this contradiction, that really sets the stage for everything else we're going to talk about.
So let's zoom out and then look at the big picture. Conflict, climate, and cooperation. The report points to these two really powerful and often contradictory forces that are playing out on the world stage right now. You've got this rise in conflict on one side and this push for global cooperation on the other. And how those two things clash, well, that has massive implications for education.
Okay, let's get into the data on conflict. And what you see here is, well, it's pretty striking. After a really long period of relative peace, global conflict is just skyrocketing again. And it's a very specific kind of conflict that's on the rise. The report calls it internationalized intrastate conflict. I know, that's a mouthful, right? But what it really means is civil wars where other countries get involved. And that's making the whole global situation a lot messier and way more complex.
And this trend, well, it brings up a huge question. You remember the peace dividend, right? That period after the Cold War ended, when countries cut way back on military spending and poured all that cash into things like education and healthcare. Looking at where we are now, you just have to ask, is that era officially over?
And the data, well, it seems to be screaming yes. Just look at this chart. For decades, defense spending was falling. But then, see that sharp climb right after 2021? That right there is the end of the peace dividend happening in real time. And you know what that means? When military budgets swell up, it puts a massive squeeze on everything else. And that absolutely includes education.
Okay, so that's the backdrop, this rising global tension. Now let's switch gears and look at how these massive shifts are shaking up something that affects literally every single one of us, the future of work. And here's the kicker. It turns out we're not just dealing with one massive revolution. We're living through two of them at the same time.
The report has a great name for this, the twin transitions. So on one side, you've got the AI revolution. It's completely changing what work even looks like, getting rid of some tasks, but also creating totally new jobs we couldn't have imagined. And then at the exact same time, you have the green transition, this huge economy-wide pivot towards sustainability. That is a lot of change to deal with all at once.
So let's dig into that AI piece a bit. This chart is pretty telling. It shows the share of job postings that are actually asking for AI skills. Now, you might look at that and think, okay, the number's still pretty small, and you'd be right. But that's not the story here. The story is the trend. Just look at that curve. The demand for people who get AI is growing, and man, is it growing fast.
And here's the other twin we were talking about. This slide basically shows the green economy in action. You can clearly see the winners and losers here, right? Jobs in green, sustainable industries are on the rise, while jobs in the old, high-emission sectors are falling off. This isn't just some minor adjustment, folks. This is a fundamental rewiring of our entire economy.
All right, Section 4, Progress and its Paradoxes. We've talked about these huge, sweeping changes in geopolitics and the economy. But what does all of that actually feel like for us, on a personal level? How are we living now? Well, as you've probably guessed by now, it's another story full of contradictions.
For young people especially, the economic pressure is just intense. The cost of living is a massive hurdle. And this one number, this one statistic, really just says it all. In developed countries, more than half of all young adults between 20 and 29 are still living with their parents. That is a huge jump from where things were back in 2006.
And this is where the balancing act gets really interesting, because even while young people are feeling that financial squeeze, they're also demanding a much better work-life balance. They're looking for jobs that have a purpose, that offer flexibility, and they are not afraid to jump ship to find one that does. So you have this really fascinating tension, right? between this financial instability on one hand and this deep desire for a whole new way of working on the other.
Now, this table showing attitudes on gender roles, this is one of the most interesting bits in the entire report, I think. It perfectly shows how our social progress isn't this nice, straight line. Take a look. On the one hand, real progress, right? Fewer people believe that men inherently make better leaders. That's great. But then, look at this other part. More people now agree that it causes problems if a woman earns more than her husband. It's the definition of one step forward, one step back. Just wild.
So that brings us to the ultimate challenge, educating for the future. After everything we've just seen, a world with more conflict, a job market that's totally transforming, intense economic pressure, and social attitudes that are all over the place, what does this all mean for education? I mean, how can our schools possibly prepare anyone for, well, for all of that?
And I think this is the crucial takeaway. Education has a brand new mandate. The job of our schools has gotten so much bigger. It's not just about memorizing facts and figures anymore, not by a long shot. It's about fostering resilience for a world in conflict. It's about building the skills for AI and the green economy. It's about helping us navigate all this economic uncertainty, and it's even about promoting social cohesion to hold our polarized societies together. That is an enormous amount of weight to put on our education systems.
And this really leaves us with the ultimate challenge posed by the report, the final and maybe the most important question of all. How do we educate for a world of surprises? In a future where the only thing we know for sure is that it will be unpredictable, how do we prepare the next generation for that? There are no easy answers here, but it is for sure a question that we all need to be thinking about.